We get dads together to talk about different topics every week. Tuesday at 2 Eastern and 11 Pacific. The show happens every week, and if you know a single dad, tell them about the show because we'd love to have them involved. And if anyone out there watching has a question or a comment, something to say during the show, please put it down there in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you during the episode. My name is Ryan Hamilton. I'm actually a co-founder here at Life of Dad. It's a pleasure to be joining you here every week. And, I'm a single dad. Recently divorced, and I'm raising one child. He's a son, age 10, named Isaiah. Love of my life. He's got autism and ADHD. And joining us here today is the phenomenal Drew Allen. Single dad extraordinaire, and as we've come to know in recent episodes, terror to all the lawyers that might go up against him in a court battle. Welcome here again, Drew Allen. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name's Drew Allen. I'm a single father. I have my daughter. My daughter resides with me full time. I just recently went to court to get full parental responsibilities. I self-represented myself and ended up coming out on top. I also am a media creator at Life of Dad, and I love every single minute of it. You guys rock.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. You rock too, man. We appreciate all your support, man, and thanks for joining us on the show. And we also have, hailing from Melbourne, Australia, the phenomenal Miller Montgomery joining us. Miller is a full-time paramedic and a single dad to 3 kids. He's also a Life of Dad blogger and the creator of the Boss Dad movement. So, Miller, thanks for being here with us. Tell the people out there a little bit about yourself.
No worries. Thanks for having me. So 26-year-old father of 3. Had my twin daughters when I was 19, and subsequently have split up with the mother of my children, although we still have a good relationship and everything like that. Created the Boss Dad movement as an outlet for young fathers who might be going through tough times that I know that I went through. And, going through times with relationships, breakups, meeting new women, all that sort of thing, and something that I would have appreciated when I was a bit younger, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, and thanks for joining us here on the show. So today we're going to talk about, kind of work-life balance, having a career and being a single dad. And since we're all single dads, we're used to having our time, kind of stretched and squeezed in many directions. Pursuing a job can be kind of very difficult when, you have children and people depending on you for your time. Now, Miller, from my understanding of your story, you managed to kind of finish 2 university degrees while also kind of, managing and kind of dealing with a life as a single dad. I got to tell us and the people out there just how you did it.
Yeah, look, sometimes I look back on it now and I think I don't even know how I got through all of that. But if I was to think about a few things of, things that helped me along the way, it was, not getting too far ahead of myself. And, there was times there where for like a year during the semester, I'd only have like 1 day off a week, and that's the time that I would see my kids. So if I would to know that early on, I would have been getting way ahead of myself and not in headspace, but also, just maintaining a healthy lifestyle and trying to maintain a good relationship with the mother of your children is pretty important, I think.
I would double down on that. I think maintaining a good kind of amicable relationship with your ex is paramount. That's a good, you're creating a good culture at home and just kind of a good dynamic, just reducing your stress level, if nothing else. And then add to that, everything you said there about kind of healthy life decisions also. In my case, I've, kind of cleaned up my diet and kind of made some good decisions, trying to stay active. And try to just keep my peace of mind every day. Now, Drew, you do awesome work for Life of Dad every single day. And you're also kind of an inadvertent self-taught lawyer who's kind of gone through the ringer in court. And just to have a fighting chance to parent your daughter there. So my gosh, between Life of Dad, the work you do here and the work you do there, and kind of becoming a self-taught inadvertent lawyer, how do you manage and balance all that?
Well, believe it or not, Life of Dad is actually completely flexible with my schedule. I don't have a set schedule, so that's why I'm here today. And not only that, but because you know what? I love dads. I love talking to them. I love helping them any way I can. Just speaking to them and trying to provide a supportive environment for all the dads. But there's really no struggles anymore. I mean, but back in the day, I used to be a flooring specialist at Home Depot. Man, that was a struggle. You're working for a big corporation. If your daughter's sick, you have to call in sick. Then you get black marks against you, even if you have a doctor's note. That was probably the toughest time of my life. Trying to deal with, because my daughter was, I think she was only like 8 months old, and she was in daycare, so I could work to provide for her. But regarding she's so young and in daycare, she was prone to getting sick a lot more than, say, an older child. So I end up missing quite a bit of work because of that. So I needed to change it up. And believe it or not, here I am today, and I'm loving every minute of it.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And thanks again for all the awesome work you do here at Life of Dad. My gosh, just being a virtual company, Office Space is what it is. Like you're looking at it, and wherever your laptop goes, kind of you go. So I appreciate what you said about flexibility. I know, just given the landscape of different kind of job opportunities and different kind of, quote unquote corporate cultures. Yeah. I think the world might be shifting a little bit in terms of what we might deem as kind of work-life balance and quote unquote flexibility. Miller, kind of what's your take on kind of work-life balance and job flexibility?
Well, at the moment, I'm a paramedic, obviously, and so I work on shift work, and so it's a lot of night shift, afternoon shift, which does help me in the sense that I can work at night when my kids are sleeping, which allows me to have them during the day more. Although I'm not very well slept most of the time, but I think that having shift work, like you guys. Working online, you can work all the hours that you kind of want. This line of work allows me to kind of do that as well. It just helps see your kids more, really. Yeah,
absolutely. And Drew, you've already kind of been a champion for all the benefits of kind of flexibility in the workplace. Let's look at the audience here. What is the audience? What do people out there have to say? Let's look at some of the comments here. Shout out to all the dads out there from Dietrich George. Hey, appreciate it. We just love having this show here every week. Just kind of discussing the issues that single dads go through. What else do we have here? Single dad with full custody. Mom's missing in action. Now, I can't talk about probably a more kind of rigid and oftentimes maybe stressful time than we mentioned kind of an amicable relationship with your ex earlier, but I imagine if you have an ex that's absolutely absent where, amicability is not even an issue, that could certainly become more stressful. We also have here from Amanda, Arroyo Cruz. I admire you single dads so much. Much love and blessings. Much love and many blessings back at you. And Pete Birch says it's hard. It is hard, so we do the best we can as single fathers. And again, here at Life of Dad, we just like to have a venue where everybody can kind of come together and talk through some of these issues. So Drew, we have another question here that we'd like to discuss. How has being a single dad changed the way you think? I know, being a single dad, you look at kind of like different priorities in life. Work is important, but parenthood is important. So how is it really kind of how has it kind of changed your view on work?
Well, I mean, there's such a fine line between either you work a lot and you don't see your kids, or you try to find a happy even. And for most of the dads out there, that happy even it's hard to find. But I mean, like I said, I kind of scored with Life of Dad because I just put myself out there, contacted them, and said, hey, you know what? I'd like to volunteer. I don't even want to be paid. You know, I want to do what I can to help out other dads, because during that time I was going through the hardest time of my life. I had a court battle coming up in a few months. Yeah. Against a lawyer by myself. So you know what? It's crazy how things sort of work out. You know, like I don't know. Like I'm a firm believer on good karma. Like if you just be good to everyone else around you, you're bound to get some, you know, good luck your way. But my priorities as a single father have completely changed, not with only just work, but like who you associate with. You know, like it's completely changed your outlook on life, because, you know, when you're a single dad, you know, it's tough. You know, you're doing it by yourself, and it's tough, and you really second guess some things. You really have to think things through thoroughly before, you know, you do anything.
Absolutely. And I'll absolutely reiterate, you know, you kind of diverted your attention for a little bit there away from work and into law studies. Look, if you ever had to leave Life of Dad for whatever reason and pursue a career in law, I would absolutely champion that, and I would have your back. So, yeah, my hats off to you, sir. Miller, what about you? You know, kind of, you know, what sacrifices have you had to make as a single father, kind of, you know, in a career, and kind of like how you approach flexibility?
Well, yeah, like Drew was saying, you know, it's all about finding a happy balance between, you know, having your kids, having work, and then trying to fit in a little bit of a social life as well, you know. I mean, it's all about trying to, again, have balance. And so what I'm trying to do is at my work, I have, you know, a flexible working arrangement, which my workplace supports if you have young children. And it's something that I'll do, and I coordinate with the mother of my children as well to see that, you know, which days are best in the coming up into the next 6 months, and really trying to maximize the best situation for everyone. And the sacrifices as a result of that means that, you know, if I wanted to go and get another job within the same company that was a more like, you know, managerial role, you don't have that flexibility of working nights and stuff. It would be more of a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday sort of deal. Right. So there would be some sort of sacrifices there in terms of pursuing a career and really throwing yourself into that world, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would certainly agree. You know, I know in my case, you know, I've seen certain layoffs. You know, back in my late 20s, early 30s, I worked my fingers to the bone. I worked my butt off. And, you know, despite working for, you know, organizations that I really kind of gave my all, you know, in hindsight, my heart wasn't 100%, you know, passionate about what I was doing. And I think some things at home kind of fell by the wayside. Certainly, you know, my marriage fell apart, you know, went through a divorce. You know, my wife left, took my son, and, you know, lost my job, went through financial collapses, and my gosh, just depression and just all kinds of like hitting rock bottom, just kind of various calamities all happening at the same time. And I would definitely kind of attribute that to kind of perhaps going all in on work and leaving things at home kind of falling by the wayside, where things kind of get imbalanced. But Drew, what's your take on this? You know, some of the sacrifices that you've had to make in your career because of fatherhood.
Well, there's like I said, you know, there's been times where I've had to call in sick, and it's really affected my job because, like I was saying, when my daughter was young and in daycare, I was missing a lot of work because she was sick, and then daycare has protocol that you can't take her to daycare again, and unless it's I don't know, unless you have a doctor's note. Then that takes a while to get. It's just this big bombshell, you know? So I made a lot of sacrifices, but I I learned quickly I don't want to work for a big organization, at least right now when my daughter's young, because I need someone that's going to support support me and, kind of understand what it's like to be a dad, right?
Yeah.
And stuff that comes with it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I love Life of Dad, because, I mean, y'all know what it's like to be a dad, right?
Learning as we go, sir.
Yep.
You know, we know a little bit. I think we've yet to scratch the surface. But here's an interesting question here from James Dooley. Anyone have any ideas for work that fit around school run and not too mentally draining? So I guess the question is kind of like, yeah, we have children. They go to school. They have schedules. They have extracurricular activities. In my case, my gosh, I even mentioned, my son has autism and ADHD. So add to the extracurriculars, add to school, just kind of various therapeutic supports and kind of different IEP meetings and teacher meetings that we have to attend just to make sure that he's on the right life track. I think what I've found successful is, look, I have a fast-paced career in advertising and tech. And Life of Dad is actually, somewhat of a side career, but it's growing, on its own. It actually has its own set of demands. So my career itself is very kind of demanding and fast-paced and stressful, quote unquote stressful, one would seem. However, my day-to-day life is relatively calm and composed. And I found a good kind of work-life balance because I think the way to do it is finding, you have more of a selection over your employer. Like, you don't have to do anything in life, but I think really kind of negotiating with your employer and being honest about really kind of what happens on your home front, to be kind of your own family and your own kind of families and your children's advocate in the workplace, to the extent that your corporate culture is open and or your employer's culture is open and kind of receptive to that, then you really have more leeway and negotiating power than oftentimes you think. But I open the floor to the rest of you. Drew, Miller, kind of speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I've sort of done it is through shift work and having the availability to work nights and all that sort of thing, and weekends. But I guess, yeah, it really comes down to what you are going to prioritize in your life. Is it spending more time with your family, or is it pursuing your career? And although it is a tough decision that you have to make, but being a single dad, it's one that you have to try and manage. And I think that people should think about themselves as being the prize that companies would want to employ. Being a single dad, it brings out a lot of good qualities in you, time management, all that sort of thing, and it's something that you can really bring to the table. And you should be working for a company or whoever that should be supporting you through that. And so, if that's not really an option, then maybe it's not for you.
Absolutely agree. Drew, what's your take?
Well, Miller just took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was thinking. Exactly the same thing Miller just said. You want to work for a company that completely understands your situation and is willing to work with you on certain things. I completely agree.
Absolutely. And I think to do that, it really all comes down about what's your purpose. We've spoken about values, we've spoken about priorities. I know in my personal case, I reached a point where it was kind of like, yeah, well, my son has certain conditions that need to be met. He needs our presence at home. He needs my presence. I'm going to work hard, but I also have to kind of devote and stay and kind of guard that home and be a representative in the workplace. And there's some things that are truly non-negotiable that I cannot give up.
Yeah.
If my employer crosses a certain line, I will heavily consider leaving this company, and I will be kind of off the scene. Because look, my son, really needs me. And I would definitely, there have been times in my life where I have not had that posture where I didn't believe that negotiation was even possible in the workplace. However, I found that, oftentimes, your employer actually respects you more, and they are flexible and are open enough to say, look, if we treat our employees well, and if they have a good home life, they'll bring that good home life to the workplace. Vice versa, if they're happy in the workplace, that they'll kind of go back home and have better families as a result. But what do you all think about that?
Yeah, look, it's all like a reinforcing circle. You know, you start off on the right terms with your employer, and you create a good home life, and that's going to, obviously, like you say, it's going to promote how you are at work. You know, if you feel down and depressed all the time when you're at work because you feel like you should be at home with your children, then your work's going to suffer, and then your children's going to suffer, and everything suffers. And so it's really about starting on the right terms. And like you say, your employer is going to respect you for it, because it takes maturity, and it takes self-respect to be able to be like man enough to say, look, these are my limits, and this is where I am in my life. And it's something that they would respect, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you said about the spiral. It could be a downward spiral, as I've certainly seen in my life, but it also can be a kind of a good upward spiral. You know, things can have a cascading effect, negative or positive. But Drew, what's your take on it?
Yeah, like I completely agree with what Miller said. You really do need to, connect with the company and just put everything out there and, tell them your situation and hope they're going to respect it. And if they don't, well, you got to find some other ways. But it is really important that your employer kind of respects your situation, because then you're going to be happier where you're working, and then you're going to be happier at home with your family. Because nobody really wants to stress about work. That's probably one of the things, a lot of people stress about, right, is making money and providing for their kids. And if you find out your employer doesn't agree with your situation, it puts you in a tough spot,
Absolutely. So let's take some final comments from the audience here. What do we have? Ben says, I'm 19 and going to college full time. I have my son 50% of the time. Going to school is difficult, seeing as I have him the same time as I would have class. And finding a sitter for every day is even more difficult. But I find a lot of professors are willing to help you through it and accommodate for you. That's very interesting. Miller, I guess we get your take on that. Having attended, university during, your single parenthood, what would you say about that? Kind of the openness that your teachers and professors might have to the situation.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that I did as well. I spoke to my lecturers and the people who were, marking my assessments and stuff like that. And what I really learned from it was just be transparent. A lot of the time, people are going to be understanding of your situation, whether it's a little extension here or a little bit longer for a test or whatever. But yeah, it's, being mature enough and being masculine enough to say, look, this is what I've got. I really want to do the best that I can, but I need your help here. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So let's take one final comment from the audience here. What do we have? Steve Verbort. It's always good to see Steve. He comes back every week. I typically leave my work issues at work and my home life at home. Balance work and home life is hard. Amen to that. That's definitely true. But it's something we work on. Drew, speak on it, and then we'll kind of wrap up here today.
It really is something we work on. We really have to, like I said, we all know how hard it is, finding that happy balance. It's really difficult, but just stay true to yourself, and have respect for yourself, and don't let anyone push you around. What I mean by that is, like if you have to go home for your kid because they're sick and someone's giving you flack about it, just stand up, because your kid comes first, right? You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Always, stand up for yourself, and at the end of the day, the kids come first, right?
Mm-hmm. Kids do come first. So let's close with let's offer the people a taste of wisdom. Let's close with some simple, quick wisdom. Miller, what would you have if you have to encapsulate what we've spoken about today, and one just kind of awesome wisdom bomb to kind of drop on the scene? What would you drop? Wisdom bombs here, right?
Put me on the spot here, but let me see what I can come up with. I would say that, sometimes, don't let people make you feel guilty for being a father. It's a great thing that you should, cherish. Not everyone is allowed to or can have children. And just own your situation, or it will tend to own you.
Very cool. Very cool. Drew, drop your wisdom bomb on people.
Okay, my wisdom bomb is pretty much the same as Miller's, like own your situation and don't let other people own you. Stand up for yourself, stand up for your kid, and eventually when you find the right employer, they'll respect that completely because, they want you to be a good worker. Simple as that, right?
I'll go all in on both of those wisdom bombs that you all dropped on the scene, and I hope it creates a good calamity all over the world. Let me see. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Miller, for joining us here on the Single Dad Show today. Once again, everybody, we have the Single Dad Show every single week, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And, we'd love to have you each and every week. In the meantime, we can always be reached on Twitter and Facebook, and, of course, on lifeofdad.com, where we also, if you become a member, we have a Single Dad group on the site. So join us on Twitter, join us on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Snapchat. We do all that stuff. Join us everywhere. And, of course, on lifeofdad.com. We will see you good people next week at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And thank you again for joining us here on the Single Dad.